Hey guys, hope you're well. Wanted to do a very quick video switching gears because I got a decent amount of new subscribers when I covered the very interesting Graceland case. That was the attempt of the so-called Nasny Investments in their effort to get Graceland and all of its content, saying that Lisa Marie Presley owed this investment company over $3 million because of a loan that she never paid for. Long story short, to rehash what happened last time, the investment firm, or the person which has been revealed in question, did not show up. That attempted foreclosure on Graceland was officially halted, unsurprisingly, and then there were left a lot of questions. Who was actually behind this effort? And some people in my community, because I've gotten a name protesting and advocating against Scientology when I was a journalist, some people thought, well, could it potentially be Scientology? That's because Lisa Marie Presley was a Scientologist for over 4 decades. She was very committed. She was getting ready to leave the church and even testify against Danny Masterson, who had been convicted of sexual assault, who used to be a famous Scientologist actor in that 70s show. But despite all the blowback, she was going to testify against them potentially in that case. So there was a relationship, and there was a lot of people wondering, does Scientology have anything to do with it? Well, you got to report the truth, and it looks like that's not the case. The culprit, as you probably have seen in the news, has been caught. So I'll give you a quick rundown of who she is. Her name is Lisa Findley, and she is from Kimberling City, Missouri. That's not too far out from Springfield, so that would be southern western Missouri, I guess, as well as I know my geography. She did not show up to that appearance, but she later did send a letter to the Presley family as well as the Associated Press, saying that she was responsible for a lot of this, but she had fallen victim to some Nigerian scammer, the classic Nigerian scammer excuse. I'm sure we've all heard that one a time or two. And that it was essentially all the scammers' fault. Oddly enough, it was written in Spanish, perhaps because she wanted to show that there were a lot of people creating actions for her in a myriad of languages that she wasn't even aware of. She did appear in court on Friday, but not with an attorney. It's not clear as to how she'll plead, but it looks like everything was fake. Nasny Investments, the so-called investment firm that was behind all of this, is a completely fictional organization. Not only was it not registered or anything like that, it was just this name purely made out of thin air from Findley to see if she could try to get something over on the Presley family first. She probably felt like they were dealing with stuff too big where they wouldn't even recognize this, or they'd find out way too after the fact as to what actually happened. Of course, they were able to catch it, especially with Riley Keough, who is the granddaughter of Elvis, as I'm sure you know. So that's the rub. Nothing to do with Scientology. Seems like some random person, but you know what? That's what's worth sticking around and even potentially following the court cases for. So you've read much of what I've said in the news. None of this is new information, but I did want to put a video to try to see if it's worth making a commitment. And the commitment is most of my subscribers, as I mentioned, I've gained through a lot of the Scientology stuff, but I enjoy covering court cases. I think I've been able to develop a niche for it and get a good audience for it. So any Elvis fans, if you want me to go out to, I think it will be Kansas City because it's a federal crime, Findley is looking at a minimum of 2 years in prison to a maximum of 20 years. Identity theft and mail fraud are the two key faces that she's being charged with, along with a handful of other more minor ones. So again, she's looking at a minimum of 2 years to a maximum of 20 years. Who knows how she'll plead? If she pleads guilty, then that's the whole kit and caboodle, then there is no trial. If she were smart, she'd probably try to plead guilty and try to get a plea. If she's not smart, which is often the case, then it's going to be a long, dragged-out trial. So this is kind of just a message, a pretty simple message, guys. I feel like I've neglected a lot of the Elvis stuff, but I'm a huge Elvis fan myself. I love 1950s music and, feel like it's worth uncovering the identity of this person. And we don't, I say definitively Findley had no connection to Scientology, but you never know. And that's why you show up to these court cases. I'll also do some more research as to who she is. That's still all coming out. But wanted to give a quick thing in case people watched the last YouTube video, maybe didn't even see the news, but all of this is bogus. And all of this was just simply created out of thin air by one individual by one individual who obviously blatantly created a fraud. This wasn't this formal thing. There weren't actual formal shell companies. This wasn't a multitude of people who kind of conspired together to try to usurp a lot of this property. It was simply one person. So that's interesting, but there's a lot more that you could potentially discover about that one person, and perhaps who she might have connections with. So if you think it's worth investing in, I'd imagine the trial, this is just out of the top of my head, if somebody knows more than me, let me know, but I'd imagine the trial will be October, November, December would be my guess. So if you want me to road trip out to beautiful Kansas City, I've been in LA for so long I can kind of afford to get out there. Let me know, and let me know if you think this trial is worth covering. If it is, I will be there for every moment of the trial, giving you a word-to-word transcript as best I can. So again, if you think that is worth the effort, please put in a little comment and I will be your guy out in Kansas City to cover this federal case. I think it's an important one to talk about. But wanted to just give a quick video blasting this out to all the Elvis fans. Again, you've probably already seen it, but no direct connection, just one random person who has showed up to court finally showed her face after previously not showing her face. But of course, there is much to be discovered and much to be found out, so let me know if you want me to make the trip out there. And then for the Scientology people, we have a case tomorrow, of course, the Danny and Josiah the next day. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. Take care. Bye-bye.